Where we are, I'm not sure. No, I do know where we are. We're at Muir Woods, and you're on location with Charles King. The entrance here, pay your little fee, pop into the visitor center, get visited, and move on. On the other hand, there are a lot of people here, as you can see, many different nations represented, and tourists come through here frequently on a regular basis. Well, the success of the redwoods in this particular area are due almost exclusively to a continuing source of moisture year-round, and what you're looking at here are one of the far banks of the little creek that supplies a great deal of that moisture. An important source of moisture for the redwoods is fog, and there has been a lot of fog. We have none in this area at the moment, but it brings in a tremendous amount of moisture which the trees can absorb directly out of the atmosphere. The redwoods are a very successful plant and have been in existence for more than 175 million years. The success of this tree is its unique bark, and we'll explore that a little bit later. Now this is more of the redwood bark, which I told you is so unique, and one of the reasons why this tree has been incredibly successful over the millennia. Again, just a quick cut here of the understory. You can see there's not much, a tree with a lot of moss decomposing, releasing the minerals back into the ground. Greetings and salutations. It's all right, you just come right straight ahead. You have to pay $1 though. Hello and welcome. You're on location with Charles King, and I just wanted to show you my glorious image here. I'm trying to work mostly behind the camera today, and you can probably tell why now. But behind me, you can see one of those world famous redwood trees. And you notice that they're standing in a group of a trio. And that's an important type of reproduction for them. There's that family of redwoods I showed you just a few moments ago. Notice how they're all very close together, and this is all related from a single redwood. Perhaps you can notice the burl or lump there on the tree on the right-hand side lower down. This is one of the ways that these various trees come into existence and reproduce in this particular area. The seeds from a redwood tree cannot fall on this type of ground where there's a heavy layer of use. It must fall on barren mineral ground, and that only occurs occasionally when there's a fire that goes through here and sweeps out the understory. All right, this seems to be a recent example of a sprouting where you see this young tree growing up against the parent tree. Redwoods are conifers, of course, and they have annual rings. This is a cross-section of a redwood that's 419 years old, and you can tell that by counting the rings, but you're going to have to be fast. You only have 10 seconds. Common understory in the redwood forest are ferns. You can see some swords ferns here, some bracken ferns. There are several different types. And back in the days of the dinosaurs, well, many of the dinosaurs wandered through redwood forests seeking out, guess what, ferns. The redwood trees are one of the most successful plants on the planet, lasting for more than 175 million years, outlasting even the dinosaurs, of course. But what you should also know is that they're one of the biggest, if not the biggest, plants. Record height, I think, is 391 feet, and that's for a giant sequoia up in the Sierras. Here, the coastal redwoods don't get quite that high. They tend to be more in the 300-foot parameters with a little slimmer, narrower structure to them. You notice that most of the leaves are concentrated in the higher elevations where they can get more of the sun and carry on photosynthesis that they need. These plants respirate between 400 and 600 gallons of water a day, which is one of the reasons they need a constant source of moisture. And just to recap, there are two main sources of moisture in this particular grove are the Redwood Creek, which is almost a year-round phenomenon, and the substantial amount of fog that comes into this area supplies them with a great deal of their moisture as well. Sword ferns, part of the understory, of course. Here's yet another shot of this world-famous Redwood Creek. You see these bulges, these are burrows, and these are a potential site for trees to reproduce out of this parent tree. In fact, you can see that there's a family of several there right now. See that one off to the right? Well, here's a tree that was damaged by fire, and if it were a typical conifer, it would be dead. But you can see this tree is not dead. It's doing quite well, thank you. And just to prove that, there's a shot of it. Here's this bark again. The unique thing about the bark is that it grows very thick, even in the coastal trees here, where it's thinner than the giant sequoias up in the Sierras. It reaches 10 to 14 inches in depth. The other unique thing about it is that it's full of tannic acid. This acid protects it against insects, fungus, and even fire. In fact, as we already alluded to you, the redwood really needs a clear floor, forest floor, in order to reproduce by seeds. What you see here is a redwood cone. And just to give you an idea of its size, here's my world-famous hand. These little tiny cones hold between 50 and 70 seeds. One is open, of course, and the seeds have been dispersed on the floor, but remember, they will not be successful unless they land on mineral earth. That's one of the reasons that these trees rely so much on sprouting. Here's a parent tree and a sibling. Okay, once again, Redwood Creek. You can see it, and maybe you can begin to appreciate the significance it is to the survival of the redwood trees here. It's also a migratory stream for salmon, huh? All right, yes, once a year they come up from the beach, which is only a short ways away, and spawn in this creek. Even with the multitudes of guests that flow through here, this is a very serene, peaceful, refreshing environment. You can see the tall trees. People often speak of the cathedral of trees, and indeed it does seem to have a soothing effect, a spiritual effect on you. Perhaps that's just the fact that you're surrounded by these wonderful giant plants. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, we have the redwoods, an incredible story of success. It's a story of moisture. It's a story of alternate ways of reproducing. It's a story of survival skills with its thick bark. And it's a beautiful tree. This is Charles King. Thanks for joining me on location.